and welcome to the Motorsport Coaching Podcast.
Hey, Belinda, good to be back. It's great to be with you. The motorsport year's kicked off with an absolute bang over the last probably 6 or 7 weeks, and that's sort of obviously your main circuit racing type of motorsport. And when this comes online, I'll be in Melbourne, ready for the opening round of the SP Tours Australian Kart Championship.
Yes, 1 minute we're celebrating Christmas or a relaxing, getting our tan on, and the next minute is just all systems ablaze, isn't it? And now it's like end of March, we're heading to April, school holidays is coming. Like you said, round one of the Australian Kart Championships is about to kick off. A lot of the series have already started. Speedway's wrapping up. It is still crazy.
Yeah, I was down at the Stars of Karting event, the invitational event in Melbourne. It kicked off Grand Prix week on Moomba Monday, and it was like, geez, I haven't even felt like I've been away. And, like December sort of turned into that in no time at all. And, it's like everyone's, debuting the new colours, the new looks, the new suits, the new helmets, just to confuse me as a commentator. It's pretty exciting. And, we're in for a massive year, Australian Kart Championship-wise.
Yeah, so let's go back from the start. For those who don't know you, first of all, you are my very first guest on the Motorsport Coaching Podcast when it kicked off 6-7 years ago. And now we're up to like 181 episodes. Wow. So this is your third time on the show. And for those who don't know you, tell us a little about you and your business and, your role within motorsports.
Yeah, so my background is in media and PR. So I've done quite a bit, whether it be at supercars level, certainly from driver or athlete management and PR with athletes throughout various times. Been over to the US a few times over there. So we went over with Matt Brabham and Crusher Murray that many people may know about to the 100th Indianapolis 500, and it's all starting to pop up again. It was 9 years ago, and now I feel really old. Go-kart wise, my first ever job was with Gary Holt, who owned the Eastern Creek Kart Complex, which is where I would have first encountered you as well, I'm gathering at some point. With there when he had another involvement elsewhere. And that's how I kicked it off. And that's really where I got introduced to kart racing. Went on to work for the original Kart Oz magazine down in Victoria, in Shepparton, your hometown. And then, various other things. And outside of doing pieces like with Castrol, with Pertec, with Orcon Steel, I was also managing media and PR around the American sniper, Chris Kyle. After he got killed, we ran the foundation for him from here in Australia with a crew over in the US. And I sat across both the for-profit and licensing side of things, as well as the not-for-profit stuff. So that certainly brought some really interesting conversations with a lot of people in the military and first responder space. Managing the social media, you never knew what the morning would bring when you sat down in front of your computer, whether it was like a mother whose son or daughter had became too much for them and ended their life, or it was somebody that wanted to reach out and just say, hey, and, that was a really cool period for 6 years of running that sort of things. But, primarily my background has been in the motorsport space.
As a journalist, PR, what do you classify? I love it. What do you actually have on your email? I love it.
What am I? Content architect and stakeholder wrangler, because that's all I seem to do is chase people and develop content. Because I hate the term PR. I really hate it. I just think public relations is dumb. It's a dumb reference to what somebody in my role or somebody in a media and PR role would actually do.
Yeah, so tell us about the role, like a little bit more. What do you love about your role? I guess with AKC, and what are some of the not so exciting things?
Yeah, look, what I love about it is that you never know what's around the corner. You never know what challenge is going to be thrown at you. You never know where something might pop up that's a bad news story for a client and you have to jump in, or incident and crisis management, which is an area, I know this sounds bizarre, but I really love, and just the challenges. Like, I've been involved in my motorsport career with some fairly hefty crashes in the time. And he really had one death that I was kind of hands off with back when poor Dan Walden perished in like 3 days before he was due to be here, and we were looking after the Gold Coast 500 at that, or 600 at that point, and that was a wild time. But yeah, thankfully there hasn't been too many of them. But yeah, and I just love the challenges that it presents, and the opportunities. For me, it's more about people. So it's meeting people and, the experiences that you get. Like, it was pretty cool when I sat down for the Australian Grand Prix on a 2 weekends ago as we record this. And there were 3 drivers that I'd commentated on during their go-kart careers. Commentated Jack Doohan to his Australian Championships, his 2 Australian Championships. Commentated Oscar Piastri through his junior kart races in Australia, and made Drive to Survive too, by the way. And Liam Lawson, when he did his couple of appearances in Australia. So to actually sit back and look at those moments and reflect on that and go, hey, look at these guys. They're now in Formula One at the absolute elite level, and you've seen them come through.
It's very exciting. And like you mentioned, we are about to kick off the first round of the Australian Kart Championships. So for those who aren't familiar with the Australian Kart Championships, Maddie, can you tell us a little bit about the series and where does it run, how many competitors, what kind of classes and so forth?
It's by entry number, probably the biggest domestic kart championship in the world. We'll have 342 entries at Todd Road, which is pretty big. We've got record entries in KA3 Junior this year. I think there's 78 that are turning up for that event, which is nuts. And records in KA2, which is the elite junior category. So basically, it'll start out from kids between the ages of 7 and 10 in Cadet 9, then into Cadet 12, which is the next progression. Then once they turn 13, they can enter into a junior class and get up to about 15. That's sort of fluid depending on the driver. Then you enter into senior categories as well. So right up to the KA2 is your premier junior category, 125cc. Water-cooled engines, about 30-ish horsepower, super fast, amazing. And then you go into KZ2, which is one of my favourites, a 6-speed gearbox category. It's the best of the best, and you just love watching those guys go at it. And then you're also seeing young kids come through, and it's like your Oscar Piastris, your Jack Doohans, your Brock Feeney's and so on that have come out of our championship. Like, there's not many supercars drivers now that I haven't seen in a go-kart, to be quite fair. And even one, Jimmy Golding, he's back. He's going to do the full KZ2 championship this year. The Newland Premier racing driver. Nick Percat's got his own team, probably the best presented team in the country at the moment, with Birrell Art. And like, it's wonderful when you do go to events like especially in Melbourne, given the majority of them are down there. You get the guys turning out, like, because it was F1 week, Kimi Antonelli, who replaced Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes-AMG Petronas this year. He was at our event on the Monday. Then was out there Tuesday morning cutting some laps in a go-kart with Pro Karting. So that was pretty cool. Ryan Wood was out there. He's a former competitor in the championship. And a few other guys just poking around, having a look.
And Ava. Don't forget Ava dropped in on the Monday as well.
That's true. Yeah. Of course, we had Ava as a Grand Prix ambassador. She was there with us. James Wharton popped through, and then we've had the team of tomorrow that went out to Albert Park, Alana Gurney, and Sammy Van Vuren. they were lapping it up on the Melbourne Walk in their little race suits and all that really cool stuff, and getting a lot of cool photos with a lot of the main people in Formula One. And that was another continuation of what Karting Australia formed 10 years ago with the Australian Grand Prix Corporation. Australia was the first country to run the Good Kids program, and realistically, the work that Karting Australia and Lee Hanachek did set the standard for the world, to the point where even then CEO, he's not CEO anymore, but Andrew Westacott joined the Karting Australia board and is still a Karting Australia board member right now and very active.
It's fantastic. On a side note, how do you go about pronouncing the names? How do you practice that? I always wonder that.
With great difficulty sometimes. Actually, I was only telling this story.
His name, I would go Semi JJ, but yeah, you went. I was like,
yeah, I don't know. Half the time I make it up until someone tells me something different. But I was actually telling someone, a podcaster grabbed me at that Stars of Karting event, and it was trying to pronounce Ava's surname. And I said, well, here's a story. Literally, when I first started watching Ava and James race, I pulled Barb, their mum, along and said, how do you pronounce your bloody surname? Because it's ridiculous. And it's something that I do pride myself on being able to do, and something that I ride. If someone's commentating alongside me, I'll ride them on the pronunciation, because I think that that's incredibly important. And again, half the time you just try and go on phonetics until someone tells you something different.
Love it. Just wing it until otherwise verified.
I can see you make it. That's how my whole career's been. So.
Now that you were mentioning about like loving your job and meeting the people of the sport, and obviously being able to talk about them, I'm always big about supplying the commentators with the competitor profile. So you guys have got some more information to talk about. But can you tell us exactly like what do you like to hear all about the drivers to help you do your job at these events?
Anything that's got nothing to do with racing. So because I love stories. We're a people industry. It's always been pushed into me literally from the first day that I walked into my first motorsport job. It's like, if you say that you have a job in motorsport, you no longer have a job. You've got a job in entertainment. And, it's what you do. And I've done this presentation in front of James Courtney without speaking to James Courtney about it, but it's 80% of what you do outside of your kart or car is what people take notice of, and it's that's only minuscule. And Courtney will attest to that. We've got Frosty Winterbottom presenting to our KO2 juniors and KZ2 people on Friday this week when we record this, about how they go about their business and what they do, how they present, to really try and lift the whole game. And like I enjoy talking about people, and like I don't care whether you lead the 10th lap, the 3rd lap, or whatever. If you're, like Kalen Burke, who used to, I haven't seen Kalen for a long time. Kai Burke's his brother who races in K82. He's a prize chicken farmer. Like, so he presents chickens. And I thought that's cool. That's interesting. It's like stuff like that I find really, really fascinating, that, can actually start to take the helmet off. I guess what I've always done, like as a journalist, particularly when I was in Speedway and running a magazine, was that you'd always try to take the helmet off and give people an understanding as to what's going on under the helmet. And I think that that's really important. And like, from a competitive perspective, particularly when it comes around to looking at sponsors and all of that, you never know what's going to trigger somebody. Like sponsorship, again, is about people, and like banging on doors 9 times out of 10 ain't going to work. It's about forming a relationship, forming a connection with people somehow down that line. And, the more that you can put yourself out there and talk about what you are away from the track, there's a fair chance that you're going to find a door that'll open for you somewhere along the line.
I also have inside knowledge that there's a roaming interviewer this weekend at AKC that will be asking some hard-hitting questions. Miss Alice Buckley is going to be going around, so having some fun facts for her will be also great.
Yeah, no, really, really excited by having Alice on board. We've got some huge announcements to come. I actually slipped something then that I'm not allowed to. We have some big announcements that hopefully will become evident after this weekend from round 2 through to round 5. So watch this space. But we've also got a new director coming on board who has significant experience across supercars, drag racing, and speedway. I've known her for a long time, and really excited by working with her. And I'm sure that she'll ride me like James McDonald on Very Elegant in the Melbourne Cup, and probably something that I need. But we're still our production team. There's been a sweeping change to the way that this production is going to look. And we're pumped. I'm really, really pumped. I had a meeting just before I'm online now with Karting Australia about where everything is at ahead of the weekend, and having Alice on board to assist us is going to be awesome. We'll be doing live trophy presentations directly after each race this year. Really looking forward to all of that. And, we are in the entertainment business, so referenced before, and, we're looking to step it up. So, really, really pumped.
Bring in the party, I say.
Oh, maybe a party afterwards, but yeah.
Well, we were looking at the weather beforehand, and it does once again, in true Melbourne form, it looks like it's going to be a mixed bag of weather over the course of the next 3 to 4 days. So
yeah, we'll go from like hot and like, what was it, Grand Prix weekend? I think it was like 38 or 39 degrees on the Saturday, then 15 windy and rainy on the Sunday. And I think that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Like, it's going to be about 29 degrees or what have you on tomorrow and Friday, and then dropping down to 18 and pouring on Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, that's really unfortunate to kick off our first round. I hate kart racing in the rain. I can't stand it. It just bores me. So I really,
I was going to say bring on the entertainment value with the rain.
Yeah, look, but I think that, we've got the best races in Australia, a number from New Zealand, a couple more overseas visitors that are coming to us. A couple of Italians are going to be part of the deal this year as well. So, we want to see the show, and, you always get a great turnout at Todd Road. And because it is Motorsport Central in Australia, you get a lot of people like, supercar team managers, support category team managers who are out looking at the next big thing. And, we're back for quite a long time. Todd Road was our final round, but, if we go back 10 years to the first ever iteration of the Australian Kart Championship, Oscar Piastri won KA2 before taking off overseas. And so it's back at round 1, and who knows who's going to be our next Oscar Piastri?
Well, we'll know in about 5 rounds. I think it's at the end of September is the last one, I think, or mid-September. We will have
I think it's first weekend. The Commotion by the Ocean up at Coffs Harbour. I was just saying to off-air that I drove back. I was in the Hunter Valley for my grandmother's 100th birthday and 400 different celebrations of the 100th birthday. Drove back through Coffs Harbour and stopped by the kart track to check out their upgrades. They were still doing some work on it, but it's looking really, really good. Good track. The city's right behind it, the local council, and the resort where we're going to hold the presentation. Actually dropped by and had a look past there. Really nice little beach out the front of that. Pop Coffs into your travel schedule at the end of August, early September, and come and see us and be part of it, because I think that it's going to be huge up there.
Yes, it sounds very exciting. I just kind of put that all together, that's where the last round's going to be now, and not here, now that you've said it
Yeah.
aloud.
Well, and, I think that I have been having a chat with Tiff at Karting Australia about what we do different, because we'll have our presentation, and it might be that we do. I'm going to put it out there. Let's do it. It might be a beach party. Let's do a beach party. Do something different, Hawaiian theme or whatever. Because obviously traditionally we've been in Melbourne, whether it's at where'd we go? The Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre or Marvel Stadium. So for the first time, we're going to be somewhere completely different up there in Coffs Harbour, and it is a great spot. It is a great spot to visit, and obviously a number of beautiful beaches there too.
I haven't been there since the days of rally.
Oh, yes, I did the last. Was it the last rally? No, second last rally there. It was a bit of a boys' weekend, and yes, it was a lads' weekend. It was fun.
Very good. So that's all exciting with the AKC coming up. But recently we had the SOC tell us about SRC recap. What's happening there?
Yeah. Oh, look, it was for a long time. A lot of people have spoken about running an event Grand Prix week, which we should. I mean, we should be running an event Grand Prix week. So it was, I was speaking to a couple of the guys last week, actually. There was only 4 categories, and it was just flat out. So it was only a start at 2:00 in the afternoon with practice straight into qualifying, then into a sprint race and a feature race. I'll come back to that in a sec. But, the competition was red hot. You look at Jay Kostecki, he started 15th in the cadet final and got through to win, right? Showed all the experience that he's built up in Europe over the last 12, 18 months and come through for the win. He was spectacular. Jack Preston won the KZ category over Jimmy G. Knew Shazzy, knew everything for him this year, and that was positive straight out the bat. And then you've got a couple of contenders that have really stood up in KA2 this year as well, that I've been watching, whether it's at club events or at that event. So it's we're in for a big year, and you're going to start to see some of these kids, particularly at that cadet and junior level, the likes of Liam Carr out in Damaso in KA2, that are going to come through, that have been that have had a really solid start to 2025.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the Stars of Karting being on the Monday, the public holiday here in Melbourne, the week before the event. Did you see now there was speculations they want to move the supercars to the weekend before of the Formula One? Did you read that?
I did see that. Yeah, Auto Action ran that the other day. I don't know. Some people said, no, may do that. Don't know whether they can get it through government-wise. I mean, that'd be cool, because supercars always put on a good event, but they've got to, if they're going to do that, they've got to do something that's not just standard supercar racing. So make it, I know the Enduros don't come around till August, September, whatever it is, but do something like that. Just make it an event, and then you've got an opportunity then to put other club type categories on. So things that are going to make you money, like put some Excels on, put some.
I know, whatever. I reckon. I love the Excels are the best.
Yes, it's become a very good pathway, as has the Toyota Gazoo Racing 86 Scholarship Series. You're referring, obviously, Alice. We were speaking about Alice before. She won last weekend, which is really good. I'd watched her in the main Toyota series a couple of years ago, and great to see her right there. Paddy, her brother, is doing some great things at the moment as well, and he'll enter the Kart Championship in a good spot.
Yeah, like you were saying before about, being proud about having that relationship with Jack and with Oscar before. And for those who don't know, at the Australian Grand Prix on the Thursday, they do have a girls on track program. And I was the same feeling on that Thursday at lunch. I had Joanne, I had Ava, and I had Alice, and some up-and-coming female drivers in there as well. And just knowing that I've played a small part towards their growth, whether it's on the Formula One Academy or whether it's now winning the Gazoo Scholarship round, it does, after we've been working for so long and hard in this industry, it is nice to have that feeling.
Oh, it's an amazing thrill. Like, there's certain guys that I've been closer to. Brock Feeney, for example, been very close to him from his kart to cars transition, and watching them come through and then go on to win. Knowing that, like watching F1 Academy at the weekend, Joanne doing so good, was amazing watching her come through karts. And then Ava, she's got Tark Heuer, one of my favourite brands, on the side of the car. That's awesome. And I go back many years ago now. I was with a load of karting people up on Brocky's Hill at the Grand Prix on a Friday afternoon, and they crossed Daniel Ricciardo sitting on the toolbox when he was the reserve driver for Red Bull at the time. And I said to them, hey, how cool is this? I had a moment and just got goosebumps, because here's a kid that used to fly across with the Patrizi's from Western Australia, Paul Williams and all that crew, and indelibly somehow we always ended up in the same hotel. So you'd end up at dinner with them, and seeing someone like Daniel come through, it's exhilarating to watch that, and then having a look at what Daniel's been able to achieve since, and where he's still at in the sport. There's a fair chance we might even see him back in Formula One. It's just nuts. What's that?
Never say never with that man.
Correct. And he's a force of nature. He's become a force of nature. And it's just stuff like that you see these kids come through, and then they go on to achieve some amazing things. And it's exhilarating.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, Matt, it's not just about the race results. It's about having that brand, and especially that's why everybody loves Daniel, and that's why if he didn't have always the great race results, he wouldn't still be living around in the background. But because he's got such a great brand and a great personality, people are wanting him to stay around. Whether it is for Drive to Survive, whether it is for a reserve drive, people don't want to lose him from the sport because he's such a big personality.
No, that's right. And that's why, companies like Gucci are supporting him. He's a Gucci ambassador. He's part of that that food stuff that you buy at petrol stations and all that. Now he's got the wine brand, and Dan Murphy's is all over him. He is...
He's with the Optus too. The Optus chief.
I was with Optus. They dropped him, but and Optus did a great job. If you followed Daniel's LinkedIn page, when they put, what was he, their inspiration ambassador or enthusiasm ambassador or something, but they did a great job in terms of being able to promote him as their ambassador. It'd be... I'm sure that he probably isn't ready to jump into the commentary side of things, but down the line, I have absolutely no doubt that we'll see him on a television broadcast.
Yes, as I said, he's definitely got that personality too. So hopefully we do, because he is definitely a favourite. And so, Maddie, do you have anything else you want to chat about today? It's been awesome to getting an insight into the 2025 Australian Kart Championship that is due to kick off this weekend. And a little bit about you and what you can offer athletes as well.
Yeah, look, again, really looking forward to it. You're going to see a number of new competitors. There's new chassis that I've never heard of that are part of our championship. I think it's Django. I've never heard of that chassis before. EKS. They're really putting in some big efforts. Joe Ty and the team at Alpha Motorsport with the EKS chassis coming into Australia. They're having a big go. You've got one of your old mates, Troy Hunt, with Tony Kart Australia, and the little lunatic Hamish Campbell behind the wheel. He'd actually be a very good podcast guest because he's a very good talker.
Okay.
and like, all of that, new guys in KZ, new guys in KA2, then you go right through, your tags, your X30s, your cadets, and it's an exciting time. And as I say, like, there's a lot of stuff that Karting Australia that I can't talk about just yet, which I'm bursting inside about. But that'll become evident over the next few weeks, and we're really looking forward to where the sport may or will go this year, because it's I think after 10 years we've probably ironed out the kinks. So probably know what we're doing by now, but we've got a lot of familiar faces from an officiating perspective that are in. They've got a great deal of respect for what they've done. We've got a brand new producer on the broadcast side who, as I mentioned before, brings a whole heap of experience. They're being driven by a new CEO at our broadcast partner, MySport Live, who pulls no punches from what I'm told. So I'm sure that I'm going to cop the raw end of that pineapple at some point. But, that's, it's all this really exciting stuff that's taken us to another level. SP Tools back on board again, Castrol back on board again, along with GoPro, and then all of the manufacturer partners. Look, and, from a competitor perspective, reach out. Find me on Facebook, find me email, or just drop a note to media@karting.net.au. It'll find its way to me, but I need to know about you. I don't just want to look at a helmet. I want to know some people behind the helmet and, what their interests are. And because, they say a rising tide lifts all ships. And so if we can do that by putting some personalities out there. Our producer, as I said, she comes from a supercars background, so it's going to be very personality focused this year and focusing on people outside the kart, which, Alice is going to take a heavy role in, along with myself, along with Lee, and a few other familiar heads that you might see throughout the course of the year.
Sounds very exciting. I can't wait to see all of it come to fruition, and definitely all the very best for 2025, not only with the AKC, but all your other work, other commentary role, and your media work as well.
No problem. And make sure I give another plug while I'm at it. Jump onto speedcafe.com/karting. You'll see all the great news and information right there, which I am the editor. So another reason to reach out to me when you've got a story or something interesting to talk about.
Beautiful. And of course, you can also help athletes with all their press releases and their exposure kind of media work as well, can you?
Yeah, that's my bread and butter. That's what I love. Being able to develop some media opportunities for athletes and all of that. So make sure you reach out to matt@acclaimmedia.com.au. I'm sure that you'll put all the information in the show notes, because I've just pumped out a fair bit of info there. But by all means, reach out to me, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone around the tracks this year.
Fantastic, Matt. Thank you very much for all of those wonderful insights. I'll see you on the weekend.
See you there. I can't wait.
Bye.
Bye.